Can you hear me, Scott?
Yep, I think
Oh.
we're on YouTube already too.
All I couldn't hear anybody, so I wasn't sure if I could be heard.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Hi, Scott. Hi, Rob.
Hey, Sander. How are you?
Living, getting more frustrated every day.
How's the
Hi,
ankle?
hi, Deb. I wish
How's the ankle? I think you're muted, Sandra.
there.
How's the ankle?
I said I wish I could screw it off and put a new one on right now. Another 4 weeks.
Really?
2 weeks in a cast and then 2 weeks in a walking boot.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he said I did a good number on it.
Was it fractured in just one place or a number of them?
Broke and a fracture. And then
Oh.
my nerves along the one side.
See what happens when bones get older?
Yeah. You got that right.
Okay. Okay, we got some. Councillor Horvis.
I don't see any.
More time on mute. See, as soon as I unmute. Looks like we're working now. Sorry, councillors, we were dealing with some technical issues regarding sound. We're ready to go soon.
Much better, Deepak.
Yeah, as soon as you say you call the meeting to order, she'll start recording it on YouTube.
Okay, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order at this point in time. And for those that may not know, we are going to be live streaming on YouTube today. So Heather is going to start that process. And to start off this evening, I would like to welcome everyone here this evening for the financial plan hearing and the presentation of our 2022 financial plan. As we all know, we are living in different times right now because of the COVID-19 pandemic in Canada and around the world. As you can see, we are social distancing in our council chamber and around the council table, as well as around the building. All members of council are taking part in this public hearing, with councillors Rob Belanger, Scott Spicer, and Sandra Strang participating from home, with myself, Mayor Debbie Feeblecorn, councillors Glenn Bowserowicz, David Horvis, and Dave Sutherland in the council chamber. We also have some staff present this evening. We have our new CAO, Deepak Joshi, is with us. Assistant CEO Colleen Saylor is also here. Our finance officer, Shannon Plushke, and Heather Stanek, our planning officer. Anyone who wants to watch this, it will be available on YouTube after, it is right now live streaming, but it will be available after the hearing tonight. I just wanted to say that we are all here to listen to questions and comments and will answer any questions you may have. As always, I ask that everyone please be courteous to one another, council and administration. And I believe that there were some written submissions in addition to those who wanted to make presentations this evening. As you are aware, council has continued to work on our 4-year strategic plan, focusing on areas within our budget that were identified as needing attention. We have tried to allocate funds where required and will continue to work toward achieving our goals. This year, with the current situation and so many unknowns at this time, administration has made provisions to review and make necessary changes to keep our budget in line. For this evening's public hearing, our CAO will review the PowerPoint presentation and the 2020 financial plan. Anyone who has registered to speak or sent in a letter, please will be heard and addressed at the conclusion of the presentation. I am now going to turn the floor over to our CAO, Deepak Joshi, to go through our 2020 financial plan presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm making a presentation on the financial plan for 2020. Welcome and thank you for attending our financial plan hearing. This is our first time doing it online through the media and through YouTube, so we're learning some lessons. Tonight we will present the financial plan to the RM St. Clements and how the plan was developed. This is my first presentation of the budget to the current council, which has been developed earlier through collaboration with the administration and council. It addresses what are the revenues and expenditures, what projects are being put forward, and most importantly, what are the priorities of the municipality. The financial plan helps in taking the municipality in a direction that will enable it to manage expected growth, infrastructure, and requests for service while keeping the tax rate sustainable and protecting the environment. The financial plan also takes into consideration the unexpected challenges the municipality may face due to uncertain times we are presently encountering. The financial plan also supports the strategic planning completed in 2019 and the goals established in that plan. The financial plan for the RM of St. Clements was established through the strategic plan, which has a vision that helps to guide the administration, taking into consideration the values of the municipalities as established through collaboration between council and the administration. As previously reported, population growth estimates are conservative at 1,600 to 4,200 people by 2036. Environics, a research Canadian company, Canadian polling and market research firm, has identified the RM to grow by 5.1% per year, which is about 10,000. So I think that's on the high end. So we're taking both of those things into consideration. With this in mind, one constant we know is that change is happening in our current environment, and we are very fortunate to be a growing municipality. As growth is managed and facilitated, it can be important to be a contributor to sustainable tax levels for the citizens of the municipality. We also have various challenges in demands for increased service levels, increased responsibilities placed on the RM by provincial legislation. In these unprecedented times, it has become clear that the municipality has to be prepared for unknown and sometimes difficult external influences on finances, resources, and service levels. Our responsibility is to develop strategies and actions to minimize the impact of these influences in order to provide a level of predictability for the ratepayers. The priorities of service delivery have been communicated through a strategic plan by creating goals and actions, which the budget supports. In addition, priorities from external influences have been identified. Climate change and its impact on our existing drainage network, along with our ability to respond to unanticipated events, needs to be addressed. An example would be the late fall storms of 2019. As well, it is understood that much of the infrastructure, the roads and buildings in the RM were built over 50 years ago, and fixing or replacing these assets will be an expensive endeavor. Also, council and administration are very aware of the importance of keeping taxation reasonable in the long term. Therefore, opportunities need to be explored for revenue growth through economic development. The next several slides will feature the strategic plan and the goals set by council. Our vision is a municipality that is committed to sustainable growth, which means growth that is repeatable, ethical, and responsible to and for current and future communities. It means future developments need to contribute positively to the environment, social structure, and financial health of the RM. It means being more efficient and maximizing our current infrastructure. To succeed, we need to continue to grow and attract young families. To do this, we will need to provide the amenities and services people are seeking when deciding to purchase or build a home. We need to create an environment that can offer the type of housing diversity that can help our youth stay in the community and allow our citizens to age in their home community. Rural municipalities are typically large. St. Clement's is 728 square kilometers. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of a sort of a comparison. By comparison, City of Toronto is 630 square kilometers. City of Winnipeg is 464 square kilometers. East St. Paul is 42 square kilometers. West St. Paul is 87 square kilometers approximately. Selkirk is 27 square kilometers. And our sister community of St. Andrews is close to the same size of 752 kilometers. As you can see, that's a lot of roads and drainage to manage for a community of this size. We have been working towards this goal for many years. In today's world, proper drainage projects require approval from the province. The province generally require good survey data and hydrology studies. We now have civil engineering technologists employed by the RM who provides the needed information for approving to the provincial authorities. In 2019, several projects were completed, such as Rebec Roads resurfacing and regrading of the ditches. We completed a record amount of drainage work in-house. As a matter of fact, you completed a majority of the record work here. Rebec, Ludwig, Old Henderson, Ashfield, Floodway Drive, East Selkirk Drain, Anderson Street, just to name a few, which have helped to alleviate some of the concerns from our most risk properties. This has reduced overland flooding risk of 40 out of the 137 homes in 2019. Other recent years were 8 in 2017 and 10 in 2018. So the following year, you were able to go up 4 times. Therefore, overall reduced 58 homes from flood risk in total of the 137 homes. The 137 homes includes houses related also to Pelts, Newfelds, and Pinehurst. These properties have had fixes, but they still remain somewhat at risk. This is an ongoing work plan as the RM works on priority drains and completes further drainage studies. Maintenance and management of gravel roads through an improved tender specification of gravel, resulting in saving money and reducing fines and sloppy roads, providing a better quality of gravel in the southern portion of the RM. Bringing additional sewage capacity to the Red River corridor is also important to the future of the RM. We are awaiting to find out the provincial and federal funding will be available this year for that specific project. This is the first year we are attempting to contract out roadside mowing as well. The RM is able to contract this work out without affecting current union members, and it will be a trial year to determine savings and quality of operations. Our financial plan includes $4 million in funding for hard surface road maintenance over the next 4 years. An asset management program is also being worked on for the municipality in order to be eligible for the gas tax funding. We expect a full plan to be developed over the next couple of years. This process will allow us to review all our infrastructure and determine the most cost-effective method in lowering the life cycle costs of all our assets. So in 2020, the RM has identified several major road projects shown here that are needed in order to continue to provide quality infrastructure through proper asset management. The projects are supported due to previous sound financial decisions which have allowed the infrastructure reserve to be created. Details of the individual projects will be available from the Public Works Department. Sorry, I went one slide too quickly. Moving on to the strategic plan, goal number 2, keep costs affordable. Despite various financial challenges facing municipalities, it is important that we keep costs affordable for our community. St. Clements has one of the lowest tax rates of the neighboring municipalities and is committed to maintaining that. This table shows our 2020 mill rate was the second lowest, or maybe the lowest, as we haven't received some of the numbers again. As we haven't received some of the numbers from one of the municipalities as to where their taxation levels will be. This table shows the mill rate as the second lowest. The mill rate is not always the best indicator when comparing taxes between municipalities, as numerous other factors must also be considered. The average cost of the homes, lot size, density, the amount of commercial and industrial assessment, along with service levels, will all impact the level of taxation. This kind of helps to explain also some of the costs and issues that I talked about earlier about how large the municipality is and the work that needs to be done. The per dwelling comparison addresses some of these challenges, but it does not offer a clear picture. Some of the listed municipalities have substantial commercial and industrial properties, which impact the revenue of the RM. To keep costs affordable, Council has committed to limit property increases to 2% for this year. This is a challenge. Revenues from the province have been frozen at 2017 levels, or in the case of the roads grant, reduced by 40%. If inflation persists, or if we go into a recession as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, there will be considerable pressure on municipal resources and service delivery. The cost of fuel, hydro, and wages continue to rise, regardless of the provincial freeze. Even though fuel has dropped during the pandemic, we do not expect it to stay there. To help achieve the goal of affordability while keeping up with the current demands, we need to consider other revenue opportunities, such as implementing user fees and improving the efficiency of solid waste collection and treatment. To keep taxes under control in the long term, we need to attract new residents and new development. As the mill rate from the school boards have an impact on the total tax bill of our ratepayers, it is encouraging that the school boards have reduced their mill rates, which in turn has had a positive impact on the total tax burden for our ratepayers. Some areas in the RM this year will even see a reduction in taxes, in total taxes, as compared to last year. Goal number 3, targeted sustainable growth. Good planning is essential to providing services at a reasonable cost for generations to come. A poorly planned development could result in additional maintenance expenses without the property tax revenue to support the costs. Good planning can identify opportunities to increase housing options and lead to an expansion of our tax base. Economic development is important as well in order to find ways to make investment in St. Clements attractive. This could mean an expansion of industrial or commercial lots or targeted rezoning efforts. This budget contains funds to study our housing needs and to have staff seeking ways to improve investment opportunities for the commercial and housing options, including rezoning and improved planning efforts. The administration has engaged with planning consultants to review some complex subdivisions, create concept plans, and has passed text amendments on the zoning bylaw. The Henderson Sewer pre-design is in progress, and marketing of the Sunset Bay Estates for new housing has begun. We will continue to identify marketable lots and land parcels with a review of real estate market and improved liaison with developers at an early stage. The RM continues to promote land for conservation subdivisions as well. This has shown through the year-to-date single-family permits being up 33%, while overall the Red River Planning District increased by only 20%. Next step is to list additional properties for sale, assess the needs for multifamily and industrial lands, and find ways to remove barriers to growth. In regarding our strategic plan goal number 4, anticipated future needs and amenities and services, we need to evolve amenities and services to prepare for our future needs of our changing communities. This is important to retain and grow our population. We will be undertaking a recreation needs assessment to establish gaps in the delivery of the quality of life, infrastructure, and programming. This would result in a plan to increase pathways for walking and biking. This could. We are very excited to be moving forward with the Activity Center project on 10 acres of land on Donald Road. This year, we will see additional groundwork and a park on the site. The design process and public consultation have begun on the contents of the park. The plan includes a walking track, water features, area for program space. The administration has increased fitness programs for adults also through partners like the Corpus Christi Church for use of the hall for programs. We will continue to examine and utilize these types of partnerships for future delivery of programs in order to broaden the opportunities, leading the needs assessment process, which will help to direct future programs and services identified through the public consultation. As well, the future recreation master plan for the RM will be aided by the results from the needs assessment. As to recreation destination goal number 5, unlike some of its neighboring municipalities, St. Clements can boast a range of exceptional 4-season outdoor recreational opportunities, and they are increasingly getting noticed. Whether it's more people ice fishing or Travel Manitoba's work to brand East Beaches as a destination, there is a unique opportunity for St. Clements to build on this momentum. Positive interests in these recreational amenities can be a source of pride for the residents and a showcase the municipality for future residents, increasing the potential for future economic spin-offs. The RM has worked collaboratively to form a tourism marketing committee, Beaches of 59, for East Beaches. We will continue to promote Grand Ray and the beaches as a 4-season tourism destination for marketing a strategic plan for Beaches 59. There will be a continued focus on increasing water access points throughout the municipality, with boat launches as an example of water access. We will continue to seek information on water depth in a variety of locations from Lockport to Grand Ray. Ice fishing has exploded in popularity, and this year the most popular locations are off the shores of St. Clement, of places to park safely and provision of basic services as bathrooms and waste receptacles also. Our collaborative work with other municipalities and the Grand Beach Provincial Park have also helped to promote destination tourism in the East Beaches area. The RM will continue to focus on these services as well as continuing with the funding of summer season washrooms at the 4 beach locations. We will continue to focus on partnerships with school divisions and existing organizations such as the ESRA and the GMRA. As to our values, the RM St. Clements is committed to public engagement and consultation in order to provide that transparent government services to all ratepayers. The municipality has deployed and will continue to expand on methods to connect with the community. The RM has recently introduced St. Clements Connect, a communication system that allows the municipality to send important messages by voice message or landline telephone, on a landline telephone, text or voice message on your cell phone or email. It can also send us to a specific geographical area. We encourage all citizens to register. We continue to communicate important information through a variety of communication methods and mediums. Information such as COVID-19 pandemic notices and links to important information from provincial and federal sources is made available on our website and on the municipality's Facebook page. The office continues to commit to open and transparent government by conducting open houses on services and information that would be of interest to the ratepayers. The budget open house was not done this year due to the pandemic, but the commitment is still there and will be done in future budgets. In order to provide information to the citizens of the in a way that we explored as a medium that will be utilized to communicate and expand. Some statistics for your information. As a commitment that council made to open houses, there were 3 open houses held last year, and they were for emergency preparedness, the financial plan, the annual open house, and the financial plan hearing. This year, we could boast 1 true open house and 1 virtual open house. So today would be considered our virtual open house and the public hearing. Important to note that our Facebook become a mechanism to communicate with our citizens as well, our municipal Facebook site, and important information that's relevant to our customers has been provided. There's been over 15 incidents of related information to COVID, but not, we already have a COVID web page and information related to what the provincial province is providing and the federal government is providing, but additional information such as our local citizens wanting to know when the regional library is open or closed, or what are some of the plans that are going on in there, what are the permit provisions of the Red River Planning District, and those kinds of things are all communicated through this, and that becomes our mechanism to continue to communicate. And on that, as in any financial plan, we have to have financial accountability. The delivery of services to the citizens of the RMSA and Clements relies significantly on property taxes as its main source of revenue, that being around 64%. The other 36% of the revenue of the municipality is made up of business taxes, utilities, fees, grants, and reserves. With targeted sustainable growth and managing costs for the ratepayers, it will be important to concentrate on other sources of revenue to reduce the reliance on property taxes. Coming to our 2020 revenues and a comparison of 2029, some 2029 highlights and other revenues and grants. There was some of the highlights and other revenues and grants is there was $60,000 from the Water Services Board grant for the Henderson Water Waste Treatment Plant. $621,000 was received last year, 2019, for a one-time additional gas tax grant received. In there was an additional $229,000 dedication for buy-in fees for major subdivision in the municipality. There was also a plan for a receipt of $400,000 in road improvements grant, but was reduced by 40% by the province to $246,000 as our annual road grant, which was a total of grants and other revenues of $1,156,000. In 2020 so far, we've received $150,000 in flood mitigation grants received. We received, again, the $246,000 in the annual road grant, which brings us to a total of $326,000 so far for this year. The municipality continues to submit for further grant applications for any available to us, and which in the end will reduce our costs. Many of the 2020 grant programs have been delayed due to the pandemic. Also, an increase in the overall tax levy is a result that you will notice on the slide in the revenue is a result of the 2% mill rate increase and a 3.21% assessment increase in the municipality overall. increase in capital expenditures related with road projects for 2020 are reasons for increases in transfers from reserves. The 2020 expenditures, sorry, I've just lost one of my slides here. As you can see, these are the expenditures by services. This is what's been shared with council in the past, and it covers various items as part of where the expenditures are by service. For the 2020 expenditures, general. So what needs to be covered here is that there is some government services that there are some increases. It looks what it shows is increases of some 94,000, but it needs to be noted in that management was the increases mainly due to legal costs, but it has some $20,000 in decrease for council indemnities. That was a motion passed by this council. So there's been a $20,000 decrease in the provision of funding to council members, and as well as some decrease in wages and administration costs. You will see that there's also a decrease in general government through the protective services, where the director of protective services, his position is vacant, which is saved us some $68,000. Transportation services, of course, is some of our expenditure increases, and it contains about $1.034 million in road projects for 2020. There's been some savings in possibility of savings in solid waste, and that translates to about $14,000 for this year. We're also looking at some increases from other areas, such as planning for housing studies, as well as legal and engineering costs related to projects. And then the other major one is the transfer from reserves, fiscal services, which has $1.4 million, which is increasing to the capital for 2020. On this, what we have is also the 2020 budget includes the following capital items funded by reserve funds. There's the transportation services equipment purchase of $390,000. There's office equipment of $19,000. Fire equipment purchases of $835,000. With the RM of Alexander paying a portion of that of $108,000. The fire and radio purchases of $112,000, with RM Alexander paying a portion of that for $22,500 for our cost of $90,000, as well as the SBA equipment, breathing apparatus replacement for $90,000 for our fire services. Utility operations equipment of $30,000, as well as for the East Selkirk utility, a softener design at a cost of $100,000. As well, it should be noted that there's land acquisition identified in the capital items. The land acquisition budgets are for possible acquisitions related to the drainage requirements that have been identified as part of the drainage project. As part of the reporting, there are 3 presently occurring, with a 4th one not yet started. So in 2018, there were bylaws 6, 7, and 8 of 2018 that gave us the boring authority for 4 projects. The Henderson Wastewater Services Implementation Project, which is the one that's on hold right now based on matching grants from the province and federal government, and therefore not yet started. The other 3 projects, the Narrow Fire Department, was completed in 2020, and it was completed under budget. Final numbers are still being calculated at this time. The South St. Clements Recreation Site will continue with site and land improvements. And the water controls works, which is the drainage works for 2019, as previously noted, included several drainage projects to address at-risk properties and problematic drainage networks, will continue in 2020. Now, these projects are also available on our website. As we've been working on this PowerPoint, they will be updated shortly also on the website. So if there's a discrepancy on the website, that's only because we haven't gotten around to updating them. So comes with this is that there's some talk in the past and that I've been told, discussions around debt and the capacity and the ability for the organization. And so wanted to have a couple of slides to discuss that debt issue. So right now in 2020, debt payments, utilities construction and development count for 1 million of that, approximately 1.24 million. Recreation at the Grand Murray Community Center construction development account for 59,000 of that. Disaster mitigation, the Roxanne Close shoreline restoration, the local improvement district, 5,000, for a total debt payment in 2020 of $1,088,000. At December 2020, the outstanding balances for debt are as follows. Utility construction and development was $11,712,000. That's the total debt that's been accumulated, which is with the outstanding balances. Recreation is at $112,000, the Grand Murray Community Central Construction and Development. And disaster mitigation, the Roxanne Close again, at $62,000 total. Total outstanding debt for 2020 is $11,895,000. Going from that, we need to talk about, well, what does that mean? Well, there's been some concern expressed about municipalities' capacity and ability to pay for debt. So what you have is two charts in front of you. One is the total municipal debt capacity, and the other is the total annual debt payment capacity. There have been, the Municipal Board of Manitoba debt policy states a municipal debt cannot exceed 7% of the total municipal assessment. In this case, 7% of the assessment of St. Clement is about $54 million. So borrowing capacity still remains at December 31st for $32,565,000 plus more, plus some change, for 4.2%, 4.22%.
Councilor Strand is saying that it's frozen, so I don't know if it's her machine or we've got a glitch here, so.
Is it still frozen, councilors? Yeah, and it was there might have been a slight delay because I did have a internet message come up on my screen that the internet was slowing down. So we've had some technical issues. We'll continue to refine. The annual debt payment now is the other component of it. So one is how much money you can borrow. The other is how much can you pay. The annual debt payment cannot exceed 20% of the annual revenue that that comes from municipal taxation and other revenues. That's why it's critical to also look at increasing your other revenues. So in this case, 20% of the total revenues for the St. Clements would be approximately $4 million, would be the 20% of that. St. Clements total debt payments right now are at 1.8 million, and I did have my other numbers. So it turns out what we're looking at is approximately equal what the payment is. They're saying what should be your total payment if it was funded or approved or approved and borrowed. So if you haven't borrowed it yet, but you've been approved, they still take it into consideration. If we take a look at that right now, I have communicated to you that it was 1.088 million was our payments, but in reality, because additional monies have been approved that we haven't borrowed for, as an example, the sewage works, our total capacity, our payments would be looked at as 1.79, which is now going from 6.4% to 10.56%. But our payment capacity still remains at 1.6 million still available for payment capacity. So we have a 10%, 10.5 approximately percent of used up capacity with a 9.5% approximately still available, as an example. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you. And if there's any questions, more than pleased to answer them.
Thank you for that, Deepak. I think that was a very good presentation. There was a lot of good information provided, and I'm sure that there may be some questions from some of the gentlemen in our audience. I'm not so sure that council will have any questions, but I guess at this point in time, were we going to have the presenters come forward and speak, or did you have more that you would like to share with us?
I think, Madam Mayor, we'd like to have the other presenters speak, and then after that, I can certainly come back and answer all the questions. We have, I think, one presenter, Madam Mayor, and then after that presenter, there are some written submissions. One of the presenters is here, but they've requested for myself to read those written submissions.
Okay, thank you for that. So I'm going to ask if everybody could please be a little bit patient, and I'm not sure what order we're going to go in here. I'm kind of being pointed to Mr. Joe Smolinski, and I'm not sure if he's coming up to speak or if he's just asked to have his submission read by our administration.
I think Mr. Smolinski has asked for myself to read his letter, and I will read Mr. Smolinski's letter. So Mr. Smolinski's letter is submitted, and it's submitted by Pat and Joe Smolinski for this opportunity. And it says, "Greetings and thanks for Pat and Joe Smolinski for this opportunity to address the RM of St. Clement's Mayor and Council members at this 2020 financial plan hearing meeting regarding the proposed 2020 budgeted revenue and expenditure financial plan. 2020 in the RM of St. Clement's on the Red River started in November and December of 2019 when the Red River floodwaters from Fargo and Grand Forks charged up the Red right through St. Clement's to Breezy Point and to Lake Winnipeg. The Red River waters froze and broke thousands of times. As the Red River became full of jagged ice pyramids, resulting in a winter of minimal ice fishing, ice sports, or snowmobiling on the Red during the winter of 2020. Finally, around April, the annual ice jam occurred at the Selkirk Bridge. The trees before the bridge were debarked and by the thick ice jam. Finally, on April 20th, 2020, at about 10 a.m., the ice was moving north and jammed about half a mile north of our home at about 5 p.m. P.S. 7+ years after these essential flood dikes were installed and essential culverts entrenched, the prerequisite required backflow gates, which were not installed until the fall of 2019, fortunately in time to prevent serious flooding on our property this spring. Great job. Thanks, crew. In the meantime, about mid-February perhaps, Canada and Manitoba got to hear about a pandemic called COVID-19, which since then has likely changed our lives forever. Unfortunate, most of the COVID-19 pandemic has produced only negative results, thus leaving us no alternative but to change our ways. Our federal and provincial governments are developing some plans and programs that ought to help us in the development of the new COVID-19 pandemic future. We thank the Arm St. Clements and the council members for their work and details that went into developing the 2020 budgeted revenues and expenditures financial plan. Much appreciated. However, once I put my glasses on and found my magnifying glass, I was able to determine the shortfalls of this plan. Given that St. Clements Council has been known as being highly paid, this would be an opportunity to show a lowering of the costs in this area, number one. Number two, we question St. Clements Council's proposal, CIP South St. Clements Recreation at $4,350,000. Where is this funding from? All wards or only ward number one? Can it be delayed for 2 more years or for 2 years? Give the amount of times that the floodway is being flooded in the past couple of years and the emergence and fire protection vehicles cutting off of all those periods from providing the required protection to the trailer community. It's time to build a bridge. And I think that's supposed to be said a little louder. It's an exclamation mark. Shouldn't Ward 2 require any special emergency fire vehicle? Thank you for this opportunity to share these thoughts with you. We suggest that the proposed budget reduce the property taxes for the next year or two until the COVID-19 pandemic is under control. Thanks all, Pat and Joe.
Thank you for that, Deepak, and thank you, Mr. Solinsky, for your letter. I appreciate the kind comments that you have. We have worked very hard to try and alleviate some of the difficulties that we've had in the past, so thank you very much for your comments. And I believe the other person who we have in the audience who would like to speak this evening is Mr. Jim Stinson. And before you take a seat there, Mr. Stinson, Colleen is going to do a little meeting up there for us. Thank you so much, Colleen.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Council, Mayor, and staff. First, I'd like to acknowledge Tyler, your bylaw officer. How well he handled this spring's high water event. And you hear me saying high water event often. I was pleased that he received in flooding this area. He was extremely knowledgeable. I was very pleased to know that he was in our municipality and what he was doing. What he knew, I was very, very pleased. But moving forward tonight, what we're here, it's for the financial plan. In my first 30-year career, I soon realized that budgets were instrumental in making one be fiscally responsible to get work done, and was often responsible for budgets in the millions of dollar range. As a result, I obtained training from several sources in developing and implementing budgets. I understood that as a manager, I was responsible and had to account for how monies were allocated and spent. I'm disappointed in the lack of public involvement in previous and this financial plan. You cannot run a municipality without the financial plan. I wish more residents looked at it. Please do not read that the lack of involvement by residents is a total acceptance by residents of this financial plan. But rather what I'm hearing is, why bother? Nothing changes, nobody listens or takes our advice. Tonight, I'd like to address a couple of things. First, I ask, did we receive value for dollars spent? Who are we? Where are we headed? And how? I should actually first thank our new CAO. I appreciate your comments that you said there. There are a lot of your slides or things addressing with what I'm talking about here. So thank you, as long as they're followed through with. So thank you. And thank you for being in our municipality. I do not want to go line by line through this financial plan, as I'm sure each of you are fully aware of all. Do you mind if this comes below my nose? I have to keep it above my nose because it bothers my eye. I can't. Okay, thank you. Okay. You're fully aware of the line objects presented in this plan, but we'll use specific lines to attempt to explain my theme. Organizations, businesses, and governments run on revenue. Local governments rely, as you saw, on grants, taxes, and very few other resources. I think the percentage that was quoted really shows that our municipality is funded by home taxes, not business, but home taxes. A review of St. Clement's taxes shows very little, if any, revenue is from industry or economic development. And increasing industry within our municipality would not only lessen the burden of homeowners, but may also increase community pride and involvement. If a family feels some pride in their community, St. Clement's has very little, if any, opportunity for homeowners to work in their community, have or even allocated in our area where industry, have we indicated where they can locate. Have a look in the morning at the bridge, the Blue Bridge. People are going out of our municipality. They're not coming in. I look at surrounding communities and see several businesses being started as we sit stagnant. We have so much to offer, but business will not just fall in our lap. We have to solicit and offer incentives to have businesses located in our municipality. Where are we headed? Rather than paying taxes, the homes within the Pine Ridge Village Mobile Home Park contribute what appears to be a large sum of money to the municipality for services. This appears to be a rather large sum of money, but really is it? When was it last reviewed? $101,000. When was it last reviewed with 300 to 400 homes? Did the municipality receive value for dollars spent? I ask, where in the financial plan does it show revenue coming in from the Grand Marais Trailer Park? And it appears there is none. The Grand Marais Museum / building receives an operating grant and collects the rent from the trailer park. I look for any reports on this, and there does not appear to be any. Did the municipality receive value for the dollars spent? Under the line object government services, chief administrative officer and staff, in 2019, $783,485 was budgeted and $837,439 was spent. Now in 2020, only $701,000 was spent. That is almost $140,000 difference. This begs to ask the question, why? I'm not questioning the salaries paid to our employees one iota, one bit. I don't believe they're overpaid one bit. You people as well. Council has the total right to make all human resource decisions. But as a taxpayer, I believe I have the right to know if the money spent by the early release of the previous chief administrative officer, if we received value for dollars spent. The year 2020 will be remembered for many things, especially COVID-19. And I believe this is a very opportune time for council to show leadership. Leadership by holding the line on expenses. Employees look to council for this direction and any actions by council, actual or implied, has a great influence on their actions. Money spent on things like conventions are a very arbitrary matter. By council increasing rather than reducing the budget for conventions sends a wrong message to all. One has to ask, money spent on conventions? Did we receive value from the dollars spent? Government develops reserve funds for many reasons. Looking at the transfer fund of funds from the reserve, we started with 3.3 million and plan to spend 4.9 million. So therefore, we added 2.6 million. But that leaves this municipality at the end of it, if all this is done, with only $963,000 in reserve. I wouldn't want to be running my bank account like that. I believe a new strategy into capital funding is drastically required. Are there ways to share resources? Are these capital projects required now? Can our partners even afford these expenditures? You mentioned Alexander. Did we receive value for dollars spent from these reserve funds? St. Clements, the place to be. That is our brand. We paid good money for that, the place to be. $17,000 is budgeted and spent under tourism. I see tourism was showing as a great thing. And from what I could find, that was spent all but a few $100s on membership and advertising. Advertising that I really had a hard time to find the name St. Clements. I'm proud of St. Clements and a strong ambassador for our municipality. Comparing one municipality to another may not be fair, but service access to Lake Winnipeg was abysmal, especially with the brand, the place to be. As you know, I spent a lot of time on that lake. St. Andrews, Warner Road was a mud road. Now it is a good all-weather gravel road. Large parking lot on the ice and maintained. Washrooms, garbage pickup. What did they get? Lots of accolades. St. Clements, Road 32B, also known as Pruden Road. Well, let's just say the plows have difficulty getting down the road to clear it in the wintertime. Why? Because of the amount of vehicles. The access to the creek, it's a mud hole. It's a mud hole. Weekdays, February and March, was not uncommon to count 70 to 90 vehicles either on that creek or on that road. I can tell you, I received several not nice comments with services offered by St. Clements versus St. Andrews. Yes, Baconia had garbage cans and washrooms and a small area cleared, not on the lake. My question, does St. Clements even own this area anymore? Balsam, which is by far the most used area, had no area cleaned on the lake. You allocated $20,000 for trail development and only $17,000 to tourism, and you want to be known as the place to be? Who are we? St. Clements, a municipality with a 1,000-kilometer waterfront and claims to be the fishing capital of Manitoba. Since 2017, $100,000 has been budgeted for a boat launch. Yes, there were issues with access into Lake Winnipeg in Grand Marais, but there is the Red River. We are so fortunate to have so much waterfront. What is the reason for the holdup? Why budget the funds if it's not going to be spent? Who do we want to be? I pay your attention to section 2B and 2C for expenditures on water supply on 3 different areas. Funds are budgeted, but yet have been funded through other departments. This area has to be addressed as it is incorrect accounting. Before the Utilities Board reduces how much the municipality can charge residents. I know it's been worked on, but this has to be addressed. And I believe with the new CIO, he would do it. I really do. And Shannon, thank you for the help of this knowledge that I learned. Under capital budgets, it allocates $300,000 and is allocated for building a sidewalk in Colville Road for a grand total of 50 homes in East Selkirk. This is a narrow provincial roadway for how many homes? 50. How much foot traffic? A sidewalk would be nice, but we can't even get the speed limit reduced on our gravel road with no shoulders from 90 kilometers with probably almost the same amount of homes. I'm not against increasing taxes. Several residents who I talked to concerning this, they also said, we're not against increasing taxes. As the cost of doing business, there's inflation, things go up, we understand that. But indiscriminate spending without determining if we receive value for the dollars spent is irresponsible. The South St. Clements Recreation funding of $4.3 million is a potential killer to our municipality. Continuing with this project without a business plan is totally wrong. In closing, capital funding appears to be out of control and not sustainable. Serious decisions have to be made as the money you are spending is taxpayers, and the final decision and responsibilities rest with you, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to express my views, and I really appreciate being a resident of St. Clements. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you for that, Jim. I guess my first thought on it is you have a lot of information in there. You do have a number of questions, and I'm sure you'd like some answers on them. If you could leave us a copy of your presentation, I would very much appreciate it, because I'm sure that Deepak can look into some of the items that you bring up, and with the help of Shannon and Colleen, I think that you could probably get quite a few answers to the questions that you have in your presentation. I don't really want to get into a question and answer here this evening. I think it's better if you could leave us that presentation, and our CAO and staff will get back to you with some of the answers on some of those questions that you have.
If you would like, I could email it to you rather than a paper copy or handing copies of paper back and forth if you're concerned about COVID-19, or I can just leave this with you, whatever you'd like, sir.
Please leave it, you can email it.
Okay, whatever your choice is. I have not had any issues, but just so that everybody is aware. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Jim. There's some good points in there, and I really appreciate you coming in and leaving that presentation for us. I'm not sure. I think there might be a couple of written submissions that we may have to go through. Mr. Chanis, did you have anything that you wanted to share, or are you just here to listen this evening? Thank you for that. And I'm going to turn it back over to Deepak. I believe he has a couple more written submissions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What I have is another written submission by Terry Neplick, who requested for this to be read as well. It says to the RM at St. Clements, first of all, welcome to Deepak, to our fine RM. Thanks for the letter of April 29th, Colleen. As I am unable to attend the May 5th financial plan hearing, here is my written submission. First of all, please, Deepak, mail me a copy of the financial plan, and I think that's been done. Secondly, as my earlier email indicated, why I am writing today, RRM has quite a few businesses. Some have been forced to close due to a number of factors recently. Some may be able to reopen, not sure when, some may not. Financial concerns for small businesses in our RM are paramount on their minds. I have spoken to many small business owners over the course of the past number of weeks. Please, can our RM consider reducing the property taxes for these commercial ratepayers, perhaps by as much as 50%, to lessen some of the financial suffering they're all encountering during this COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. The seasonal businesses such as One More Thing, Lanky's, Potenza Pizza, DJ's Arcade, Sam's Stuff, etc., all pay property taxes for 365 days, but are only able to be open during the tourist season and may be open only 100 days a year in a good weather year. I believe a proactive measure such as this would be a meaningful and obviously be a trend-setting decision. Also, consideration for future tax years such as 2021 discounts would also be well received for the same seasonality reason. I have attached a list of businesses in the Eastern Beaches, not all from our RM, that are no longer in the business. Mary Schneider's helped to compile this list. Totally a gesture of good faith and showing support for those businesses trying to tough it out on a little of any cash flow so far in 2020. Cheers and thanks, and say hi to Mayor and Council from us up here in the Great White North, Grand Marais. Stay active, stay safe, and take care. Along with that, a list has been also attached, which lists businesses that have been closed for the last 20 to 30 years. I'm not going to bother reading it, but it's been submitted into information as part of the package for the material here. And so what I'm going to do is read the next one. I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint slideshow. And see if that can get rid of it. Regardless, it's we'll continue on with the next. If there's no further comments or questions, Madam Mayor, because this is just information being read into the record, I'll move on to the next submission. Today at 2:03 p.m. we received a series of detailed questions. And so what we've done is quickly have collected the information to be able to answer those questions as part of this process. There were some 14 questions submitted, and Shannon has worked quickly to be able to answer them. And so what I'm going to do is these questions were submitted by Laurel Kidd, and they were, hello, I have some questions for the 2020 financial plan. So what I'm going to read is the question, and the number of the question itself, the answer as our response to it. So starting off, number one, why on page 1 is there a penny difference between the total revenue and the total expenses in the 2020 budget column? I understand there is a penny rounding, but shouldn't someone not be making a manual change to assure the amounts are the same? The answer is correct. The totals are correct. The page has a formula error in the surplus/deficit calculation of 1 cent. Under the Municipal Act, Council may make revisions to the draft budget before third reading, following the public hearing with 4 exceptions. Increasing revenue from tax budget. The provincial budget document provided to us contains a calculation upon calculations from multiple sources within our document. It is unwise to manually edit the document to address penny rounding until such time as Council wishes to make no further adjustments. Since we were at the public hearing process, we wouldn't be making those types of adjustments. The final copy is attached to and forms part of the tax levy bylaw, which receives 3 readings in order to be adopted will, of course, have that adjustment made at that time. On page 2, question number 2. On page 2, general government revenue. Why is there a revenue dropping approximately 30,000 compared to 2019 budget? Answer, the 2019 budget included $5,000 for Manitoba Public Insurance rebates and $25,000 for municipalities trading company of Manitoba Limited rebates. Neither of these were received in 2019. The 2020 budget has not included amounts for these two items, resulting in the $30,000 decrease. Question number 3. On page 2, services, approximately 30,000. Two other revenue does include a change in the environmental services. The 2020 budget includes an increase of $36,200 in recycling rebates based on additional recycling tonnage estimated based on 2019 data. The budget item also includes an increase of $2,644.19 in curbside pickup fees, which were actually received at the beginning of the year. Question number 4, what has changed that there is nothing budgeted for sales of goods when there was a budget and actuals in 2019? In 2019, the amount of $20,000 was budgeted in anticipation of an auction of municipal equipment and buildings. The actual funds received were $39,516.61 cents. No anticipated revenues from sales are expected in 2020. Question number 5. Why is the budget amount on page 2 for unconditional grants? Municipal operating grant at $604,818 and some cents as the actual that will be received by the province were presented to council on March 24th of $853,949.98. The 2020 general assistance grant is $853,949.98 as presented to council on March 24th. The total amount includes the $604,818.67 shown on page 2 and unconditional grants of the amount of $282,827.67 shown on page 2 as conditional grants, provincial government. The total of $282,827.67 represents the road improvement portion of the general assistance grant, $246,000. Crown land lease of $3,389. Dutch Elm renewal program rebates for $32,000 and Manitoba Hydro fixed grant amount of $1,438. All funds in this total are specifically purposed, not general assistance funding. Question number 6, what type of municipal grant is being received for $281,308 as the details do not show on page 9. $281,308 is the total receivable from the RM of Alexander as their portion of the capital project purchases in the 2020 year as a cost-sharing partner in the East Beaches Fire Hall. Number 7, on page 2 of the total other revenue and transfer amounts that should come from page 8 is using only municipal amounts. So this amount not be the municipal and school amount of $8,212,299.71. $8,212,299.71 is the total municipal portion. This is not the municipal and school amount. There are 2 other portions on page 8. The remaining portions are included as part of the mobile home fee and transfer from reserves. These are several types of revenues included here. As for example, the portion raised as part of the utility rate bills would not be included elsewhere in our budgets as general operations revenues. Next, question number 8. On page 3, why has the budget amount for road plan increased so much from last year? In 2019 budget included $140,000 for road projects and $150,000 for asphalt hard surfacing repairs. The 2020 budget includes 1.24 for road project, 1.24 million for road projects, and 150,000 for asphalt and hard surface repairs. That's what it is. On page 4, why has ditches and road drainage decreases so much? The majority of the drainage works in 2020 are not being funded by taxation or other revenues. In 2020, we are completing capital drainage network improvements projects, which were identified earlier, which are to be funded under Bylaw 7, 2018 Water Control Works. Details of these projects are available on our website. On number 10, on page 5, and I am getting close to the end. Number 10, on page 5, who is getting tax discounts for $154,302.88? Good question. This amount of $154,302.88 is a provision that Council has created to potentially provide for COVID-19 relief for services or taxation if and when required in the 2020 taxation year. No further determinations have been completed as we are still in the middle of the pandemic crisis. Question number 11. On page 6A, why is there a credit amount for penalties in the 2019 actuals? Do we pay some penalties on their water bills? Page 6A, Lockport Utility. The Lockport Utility is a sewer-only utility with residential and commercial customers. In 2019, one commercial customer received a billing adjustment of $60.90. This is the offset by revenues in the utility in 2019, not from taxation. On page 8, question number 12, why is there a credit balance for the allowance of tax assets? So we are taking money from our tax allowance to balance page 8? Answer, the calculation provided by using mill rates does not often amount to the exact dollar amount required to be raised, or in some cases results in raising more than required. Using the allowance for tax assets to adjust the difference so residents are not overcharged is our standing procedure in annual tax calculations. The credit of $60.80 is being adjusted from the allowance of tax assets, which has a balance of $51,160.35. The allowance is inflated and has been significantly reduced in 2019 as recommended by our municipal auditor. Now, question number 13. On page 13, can we get more details on where some of these general and specific projects will be happening? Details on drainage projects works can be found on our website. Roads to be completed this year will be made available as part of our financial plan hearing presentation material, which I've already outlined. The South St. Clements Recreation Facility is to be located on Donald Road. The Manitoba 150th Open House may be located at the East Selkirk Rec Association or the municipal office. The planning studies are being completed throughout the municipal jurisdiction. Aggregate exploration is being reviewed in the same area as our municipal gravel pit. Trails development information will be provided at a later date to council from the Trails Association as project details are prepared for approval. On page 14, the question number 14, the reserve balances don't match between the source of funds on the rows and columns, which is the correct figure. Correct. These are two errors on page 14. 5-year capital purchasing as follows. Highway tractor purchase schedule for the 2024 year of 80,000 is correct purchase total and should show as fully funded from the reserves, not blank. IT equipment purchases scheduled for 2021 to 2025 years of 26,750 is a correct multi-year purchase total and should show as 26,750 funded from reserves, not 21,800. Total source of funds and reserves is $3,683,750 is also the correct total. So we'll correct whatever, as mentioned earlier, we would correct as we go through the process. Finally, the last question, will these questions be presented tonight and answered? And I felt important for us to be, because we were having the online type meeting and based on the questions that I wanted to see if we could try to answer all of these, and thankful to Shannon to collect all this information and be able to answer it. But I wanted to say this. In order to meet council's direction for open and transparent government, we have completed the answers to the questions raised in a very short period of time, as they were only received a few hours before the public hearing. We will read the questions and answers at the public hearing, as we have, and this is going to be our response in writing as well. In addition, we encourage our residents to contact the finance officer directly with any questions pertaining to the finance related to the budget in advance of the hearing and any time during the course of the fiscal year. Requests with high level of detail are typically replied to within 1 to 2 business days and allows for additional dialogue if necessary on the RM's budget. So sometimes some of these things require some additional dialogue, and this isn't always the best form to be able to do that. So we encourage to contact our office throughout the year. That, Madam Mayor, is the last of the presentations.
Thank you for that, Deepak, and I'm really pleased that Shannon was able to put all those answers together. I guess I kind of felt the same as you. It was submitted. Had she been present here, she would have had read the questions and we would have provided the answers on another day. But because you've done this tonight, I'm sure that hopefully that will be sufficient as to what the resident was asking about. So thank you very much for that. And I guess it's time to close if nobody has anything more to say. I just have a little closing remark here. I would like to thank everyone for attending this evening. I know it is a little different with our social distancing and we have to be very mindful of where we are and things like that. But it is important for us to have you here. And it's also very important for us to meet the goals we have set. And if we are not able, ensure that the goals are carried forward. Please remember, we are committed to improving services to our residents so that the RM of St. Clements is the place to call home. Thank you very much and good evening to all.
And thank you, councillors, and we'll shut down.